Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's been a long time coming. But the boys of summer, north of the 49th, are back in town, ready for another immaculate season of CFL football. Elbows up, baby. What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and the 2025 Canadian Football League season is set to kick off in just 72 hours' time, ladies and gentlemen. On Thursday night, this season will kick off once again for 2025. The CFL is back, which means your boy is back. The Pick Show is back. We are ready to hit the ground running and have ourselves an incredible season in 2025. Obviously, with every new football season comes a wave of change, and we essentially saw changes across all 9 CFL football teams from last season coming into 2025. And I do kind of want to talk a little bit about where we left things off at the end of 2024, the changes that have happened, and where I think we're sitting heading into the 2025 season. Come along with me, won't you? First of all, coming out of 2024, which 2024 I think was a banner year for the CFL. Attendance was up, TV ratings were up. I think the interest and the excitement around the league might be at an all-time high, and I feel like it's got a long way to go as well. I think it's only going up and up and up from here. But coming out of 2024, here's where we stand with our 9 franchises in the CFL. If I had to kind of power rank these teams, I guess, coming out of the 2024 season, this is how it would look. Coming up for the rear for me, the Calgary Stampeders, they only won 5 football games and 18 tries in 2024. They're definitely bringing up the rear of the pack coming out of last season. The Hamilton Ticats and the Edmonton Elks both won 7 games last year, but interestingly enough, Edmonton's offense was actually able to outscore that at times putrid defense that they had on the field. They actually scored 4 more points last season than they allowed, so I'm going to give them a slight edge here over the Ticats, who had the same record but were outscored by 62 on the season. So we got Calgary at 9, Hamilton at 8, Edmonton at 7. 6 is the BC Lions, even money last season at 9-9. But of course, the big story for them is Nathan Rourke returning to the CFL full-time this season. The Ottawa REDBLACKS and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, another instance where you had 2 teams with the same record, 9-8-1. Going to give the Riders the slight edge here to the number 4 spot and the REDBLACKS in at number 5. I base that basically on playoff success. The REDBLACKS were in the East Division semifinal. They lost that game to the Argos, who of course would then go on and win the Grey Cup. The Riders were in the West Division semifinal and won that matchup. So I am going to give the Riders the edge there to the number 4 spot, Ottawa to number 5. Once again, this is coming out of last season. The Montreal Alouettes, despite leading the league with 12 wins in the regular season, they come up at number 3, losers of the division final, obviously, in the East Division, to the Toronto Argos. Number 2, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They just keep winning, man. Another double-digit win season, 11-7 for the Bombers, and that was with a slow start to the season last year. They still won 11 games, but did eventually go on to lose the Grey Cup in fairly convincing fashion to my number 1 rated power-ranked team coming out of 2024, the Toronto Argos. Only 10-8 on the season last year, but they got hot when it mattered, scoring like a crazy, I think 120-some points in the playoffs last year, just across 3 games en route to winning the Grey Cup. Now, if you were to take a look at these teams using my favorite metric, of course, offensive and defensive efficiency, and taking those numbers and essentially putting them into a ratio, here's kind of how I would power rank the teams from an efficiency perspective coming out of last year. All you really need to know here is you want to be above 1.0. We had 3 teams that were below 1.0 coming out of last season. And look, I just put Calgary and Hamilton as number 9 and number 8 based on record. They're also number 9 and number 8 based on efficiency from last season. The Calgary Stampeders at a .83 and the Hamilton Ticats at a .84. So basically what that means was their defensive efficiency is like you want the number for your defensive efficiency to be higher than your offensive efficiency because it's all based on yards per point. So your offense, you want to score points in as few yards as possible. Your defense, you want to make the other team work harder to score their points. They need more yardage on average to score those points. Calgary's ratio 0.83, Hamilton's ratio 0.84, both sitting around -2.5 in terms of yardage per point. Again, you want to be on the positive side of that. They were well on the negative side. Number 7, the Ottawa REDBLACKS. Look, they found success with 9 wins last year, but from an efficiency perspective, only at 0.91 and down about a yard and a third per point, again to the negative. The BC Lions, they were in 6th. So again, you can kind of see how efficiency is correlating to where these teams wound up finishing in the regular season. The Lions, even money at 1.0, so they're right. If it was pass fail, they just barely got to the pass mark. The Edmonton Elks, 1.02, so just a little bit more efficient in total than the BC Lions. The Toronto Argos, look, they won the Grey Cup, and that's what really matters. From an efficiency perspective, the Argos offensively were great. Defensively, I think they were like the number 7 team in the league last year in terms of defensive efficiency, so it was definitely a problem, and it was something that I think, held them back at times last year. It wasn't the offensive side, it was definitely the defensive side. They're at 1.04, up about a half a yard per point to the positive side. So again, that's good, but the defense really kind of held them back. Number 3 was the Riders, 1.12, and that's actually the same mark as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So in terms of this efficiency ratio, they were essentially the same. Winnipeg a little bit higher in terms of their yardage, plus 1.75 to the Riders at plus 1.6. And the real stars of this metric from last year, the Montreal Alouettes, 1.25. The efficiency ratio for them, and plus 3.31 yards per point. So again, that's just blowing everybody else out of the water. To me, it's no wonder they were the 12-win team last year, just didn't ultimately get it done in the playoffs when it really, really mattered. And since we've now gone through another full off-season here in the CFL, we have obviously some notable movement both with players as well as personnel. And I just want to talk about a couple of the more notable coaching staff changes because there are some instances where I think teams hit an absolute home run with their personnel changes and some others where I'm just like, why would you, that's such a lateral move, why would you even do it? I do want to start in Edmonton, who I think were one of the winners of the offseason from a personnel perspective. They brought in a new head coach, Mark Killam, as well as a new offensive coordinator, Jordan Maximich. Mark Killam's background is primarily on special teams. I think this is a huge boon to the Elks in the special teams game. And I think their offense will take a generalized step forward by bringing in Maximich as their new OC. In Hamilton, here's one of these lateral moves that I talked about. They've got a new DC in town. It's Brent Monson, but he was the D coordinator in Calgary last year. And I don't know if you watched any Stampeders games last year, but that defense stunk for the vast majority of the season. Look, that's the way that I saw it. This defense did not play well, and neither did Hamilton's defense. So bringing over a D coordinator that really did not have a solid track record from last season, it just seems like such a lateral move. I don't think that actually does your team any favors. The BC Lions were active on the personnel side as well, bringing in a new defensive coordinator in Mike Benavidez, as well as a new special teams coordinator in Corey McDermott. I just think these are generalized upgrades for this team. I think their defense gets a little bit better. I think their special teams gets a little bit better with these new people at the helm. Ottawa, the REDBLACKS are who I really think sent this one 500 feet over the fence. I think the REDBLACKS did incredibly, bringing in William Fields as their new defensive coordinator. He's got a tremendous positive track record in the game of football. I think this is a massive upgrade for the REDBLACKS on the defensive side of the ball. Not to mention bringing in a new special teams coordinator, a very familiar name, Rick Campbell, former head coach and I believe GM in BC. So I think that's a big upgrade to the special teams, a big upgrade to the defensive side for the REDBLACKS, and just a ton of coaching experience brought into their staff. I think especially with a guy like Bob Dice as the head coach, is only going into his third year, having that kind of experience on the bench, I think is exceptionally important. I think Ottawa hit a home run. I think they did incredibly well. And the Toronto Argos bringing in a new co-defensive coordinator. That's Jason Shivers. I think that's probably a marginal upgrade to them on the defensive side. Again, the whole co-defensive coordinator thing is like, how much of an impact are they really going to have? But they bring Shivers in. I think that's an upgrade. And of course, we've got the notable player movement. Now look, there was a ton of player movement like there is every offseason. I'm not going to sit here for 3 hours and go over every single player movement, but the ones that really stuck out to me. First of all, James Butler returning to BC to be their starting running back. I think that is just yet another weapon for Nathan Rourke and that Lions offense. I think they should hit the ground running right away to start the season. The Calgary Stampeders are going to be a very fun offense to watch, bringing in both Vernon Adams and Dominique Rhymes on the offensive side. You add that to Reggie Bagleton, Dedrick Mills, who's now going to take over, Dedrick Mills taking over as the top running back option. That team is going to be fun because I still don't think that defense is very good. The Edmonton Elks, they were active in the offseason too, bringing Cody Fajardo into their quarterback room and adding Jake Serezna and David Beard. Now, I think this is two of the best players that were available this year on both sides of the line of scrimmage. David Beard, I know he played in Hamilton last year, but he was one of the best offensive linemen in football last year. And Jake Serezna, perennially, I think is one of the best pass rushers in this league. So to be able to upgrade that much on both sides of the line of scrimmage, I've been beating this drum for years. Games are won and lost at the line of scrimmage. So focusing on that area for a team at Edmonton that's looking to take that next step forward, I think it was an important step for them. Kenny Lawler joining a very talented wide receiver core in Hamilton. You also got Geno Lewis and William Stanback, two big additions to the offensive side in Ottawa, who do feel like they're gearing up for a run here under Drew Brown, his second year as the starting quarterback. Ciante Evans joining the Argos secondary. They're obviously looking for better results in a lot of ways than what they had last season. Yeah, it was, a defense that gave up the fourth fewest yards, but they still gave up 26.5 points a game. So they definitely need to shore up the pass defense. Ciante Evans, I think, still has some stuff in the tank. And Reggie White going to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bombers had a lot of losses in free agency, but that was a big win for them to bring over a guy like Reggie White. We've seen him. He has a track record of being able to take over games. I say all that to say this. Here are my official 2025 CFL Power Rankings heading into week 1 of this new regular season. I kind of put them in tiers. 3 tiers of 3. Look how that worked out. I've got the kind of gotta see it tier, which is the tier on the bottom. Not saying these teams are bad necessarily, but I'm going to have to see it first. We've got the playoffs tier. 3 teams that I think have legitimate cause to consider themselves playoff threats, if not more. And then we've got the contenders tier at the top. The 3 teams that I believe are the true contenders for this year's Grey Cup. Ready to roll? Let's do this. We're going to start at number 9, the final one down here in the gotta see it tier. It's the Hamilton Ticats. As far as I'm concerned, they did little of note in free agency other really than bringing over kind of Kenny Lawler. I think this is a bad defense that added, like I mentioned, a pretty pedestrian defensive coordinator. I don't think this defense is going to be much better this year than it was last year. I'm definitely going to have to see it from them first. Ticats are bringing up the rear at number 9. Number 8, barely in front of them, the Calgary Stampeders. Like I mentioned, bringing over Vernon Adams and Dominique Rhymes is fun, but the problems to me with the Stampeders aren't necessarily roster-based. Like, it's systemic with the Stampeders. The fact that they promoted their new defensive coordinator, they promoted from within after having one of the worst defenses I think I've ever seen in gridiron football last year. To promote your new DC from within, to me, is unforgivable. To me, it means they don't realize that, like, the call is coming from inside the house. Like, the problems, I believe, with the Stamps are systemic, and I think it's going to wind up costing them another season. I'm certainly going to have to see it to believe it. But Vernon Adams and Dominique Grimes definitely make that offense fun. Number 7, and I'm going to get some pushback here for sure, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And I guess the plan here is just run it back, because they basically re-signed everybody they had to re-sign. They let one notable person walk in free agency, and it was Jareth Stearns, a really, I think, talented young wide receiver who I would not have let walk out of my team. Like, I would have done everything in my power to re-sign that person. He was the one guy they let walk. I didn't really feel like they added too much. They're basically just kind of going into things with the same roster that they had last year. Same roster, quiet free agency, same coaches. Trevor Harris is not getting any younger here. I'm just smelling a little complacency here in Riderville, I think. To me, they're number 7. They were good last year. I'm going to have to see them do it again. Number 6, and the first team I would consider in my playoffs tier, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Edmonton Elks. An influx of coaching talent, free agent additions on both sides of the ball. Listen, I'm telling you right now, this Edmonton Elks team is going to be dangerous if the defense figures out anything. If the defense takes a step forward, this Elks team is going to be dangerous. They've got plenty of weapons on both sides of the ball now. They've got an experienced coaching staff. If the defense does its job, I don't see any reason why the Elks don't make the playoffs this year. Rocking the shirt for a reason. That's my call. Riders on the outside, Elks on the inside. How's that for a hot take? My number 5 team in terms of the CFL Power Ranks for 2025, the Toronto Argos. Yes, they are the defending Grey Cup champions, but the defensive metrics do not hold up. They do not hold water to a team being a championship caliber team. In fact, I just think that's the bullet that they managed to dodge last season. I don't think they dodged that bullet twice, and I don't feel like they've done enough in the offseason to change that narrative. Too little improvement as far as I'm concerned. I think the Argos are a middling team this year. I don't have aspirations of them going back and winning another Grey Cup. They should be a playoff team in the East Division, but I don't see them going much further than that, at least not right now. My number 4 team is the BC Lions. Full season of Nathan Rourke at QB1 incoming. They've got tons of weapons around him. He's very well insulated. They picked up some upgrades on the defensive side of the ball and to the coaching staff as well. As far as I'm concerned for the BC Lions, it's full steam ahead. No reason why they shouldn't be contenders in the West Division. And now we hit our contenders tier, my top 3 teams in my 2025 CFL Power Rankings to start the 2025 season. Number 3 is the Ottawa REDBLACKS. A ton of change, and the REDBLACKS, to me, are embarking on an era where they are one of the new powers in the East Division. I think they are significantly better on both sides of the ball. Again, another team that brought in a wealth of coaching experience in the offseason. The Ottawa REDBLACKS are true contenders. Like, a REDBLACKS future right now on the Grey Cup is rather lucrative, and it's not the craziest thing you could do. My number 2 team is the Montreal Alouettes, and it is the Davis Alexander season. To quote John Cena, your time is now. Now, look, he's going to have to get out to a good start. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit when we preview the Week 1 games. That's going to be the biggest question mark all season is it actually Davis Alexander's time? Look, they've made the moves. Alexander's the guy, and he's well insulated with a lot of receiving talent. Let's see what happens on the field. But as of right now, I think they're still strong contenders. And my number 1 team heading into the 2025 season, stop me if you've heard this before, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The losses do matter, and they did definitely lose in free agency. Like, just to name one guy, like Drew Wolotarski. And like, I understand he's not like one of the biggest marquee names, but that is like your security blanket in the receiving game. Losing a guy like that, That hurts. So the losses do matter, but the key elements, I believe, are still there for the Bombers to make another Grey Cup run. Would it surprise me if they were in the Grey Cup game? Not in the least. So there's the power ranks from 9 all the way up to number 1. Hamilton, Calgary, Saskatchewan, Edmonton, Toronto, BC, Ottawa, Montreal, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers sitting on top at number 1. With all that in mind and all that said, let's preview these games. Week 1 CFL action in 2025. Your Week 1 slate looks like this. Game 1, first game of the season, the Ottawa REDBLACKS on the road in Saskatchewan taking on the Riders. The Riders are a 3-point favorite in that game. Total is 49.5. Second game, the Toronto Argos on the road in Montreal, taking on the Alouettes. Again, a likely preview of the East Division final. Montreal are laying 4 points as a home favorite, and 47.5 is the point total. Third game, the Hamilton Ticats on the road in Calgary, taking on the Stampeders. Again, battle of my 2 lowest power-ranked teams this season. The Stamps are 2-point dogs at home coming into this game, with the total at 52.5 points, which goes to show you how much faith Vegas has in these 2 defenses. And wrapping up the week, the Edmonton Elks on the road in BC, taking on the Lions. Is this a dark horse preview of the West semifinal? I'm just saying. The Lions are 5.5-point favorites at home coming into this one. Total in the game, 48.5 points. So let's start with that first matchup, the Ottawa REDBLACKS in Saskatchewan taking on the Riders. This is a battle of my number 3 versus my number 7 power-ranked teams coming into 2025. Riders 3-point favorites, 49.5-point total. Bob Dice and co. travel to Mosaic, kicking off the 2025 season with what I believe will be a statement game on the road to send a message to the rest of this league that we are the Ottawa REDBLACKS and we have arrived. This is a team that won just 2 road games last season, and there's no better time to flip that narrative and let everybody know that this year is different. Again, I'm sensing some complacency in Ryderville. I don't necessarily like what I've seen, and I think it may come back to haunt them. I'm taking the Ottawa REDBLACKS on the road to beat Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan. So obviously, I'm taking the +3 on the Ottawa REDBLACKS since I like them to win outright. Total in the game, 49.5. I'm going to go under that total, I think. I think this is a solid game here for this REDBLACKS defense. I think they keep the Riders to 20 points. And in that context, I don't think it gets to a 50 in total. So let's stay under the 49.5-point total. Give me a 26-20 victory for the Ottawa REDBLACKS, who win, cover, and stay under the point total. Second game, Argos at Alouettes in Montreal. Davis Alexander making his season debut, obviously, as the undisputed QB1 in Montreal. He gets a well-coached but statistically soft opposing defense from last season, especially in the secondary, and he is badly in need of a hot start. And part of the reason I say that is, yes, he's a young player. Yes, I do think he has something of a leash. But after last season, if you start the season slowly, the noise will start to pick up. And for a young player like that, it can absolutely kill their confidence and their swagger being the QB1 of a team that is a contender for a championship. So we want to see him come out to a hot start. I think that's what we're going to get. The run game in this game is going to be a question mark, I think, for both sides. Notably, the Argos have cut bait with Kadeem Carey, and the Alouettes have cut bait with Walter Fletcher. So the question is, like, who's even going to be running the ball for both of these teams? McMahon for Toronto, I guess. For Montreal, kind of a coin flip, and they've been so predicated on their run game over these last few years. It's going to be an interesting game to watch. I'm going to take the Montreal Alouettes with the benefit of them being at home. I'm going to give them the edge here. Als beat Toronto in Montreal, but I am going to hedge my bets because the 4 points just seems like a number that's trying to get us. You know what I mean? A little bit of gambler's paranoia in there, I think, but I feel like that's just a number that's trying to bait you because it's small, but it's not as small as it could be. And I don't know, there's just something about that number. So I'm hedging my bets, taking the Owls to win, but give me the +4 on the Toronto Argos. Notably, Nick Arbuckle seems like he's going to be getting the start at QB1 for the Argos. So Owls win, give me the +4 on Toronto. I'm going to take the over on this point total, 47.5, because again, I don't know what we're going to get out of the run game for both of these teams. So I expect the ball to be flying all over the field in Montreal, which usually leads to higher scoring games. So give me an over on the 47.5 point total. I'm going to go 27-24 Alouettes. Montreal wins. Toronto covers the +4 and an over on the point total. Up next, the Calgary Stampeders playing host to the Hamilton Ticats. Like I mentioned, my 2 lowest power-ranked teams coming into the season. And at least one of these teams gets to start the season 1-0. So thumbs up to whoever that team happens to be. The quarterback matchup here should be worth the price of admission. Bo Levi Mitchell on one side, Vernon Adams on the other side. I expect a ton of points in this football game. Even though it's the biggest total of the week, I'm going to spoil the anime for you here. Take the over. If this game got to 60 points, it would not surprise me at all. We're definitely on the over here for Hamilton and Calgary. I'm going to take the Ticats, even though I did power rank Calgary a little bit ahead of them. I think the supporting cast for Hamilton is one that I like a little bit better. I think overall, I'd rather have Hamilton's receiving room. I think I'd rather have Greg Bell over Dietrich Mills. So I think there's just like little bits here where I don't necessarily know who the better quarterback is in this matchup, but I think I know which supporting cast I'd rather have. So give me the Ticats here on the road in Calgary to get the win over the Stampeders. Might as well take Hamilton to lay that -2. It's a small price to pay. I like them to win, so let's lay -2 on the Ticats. And again, we're going over that 52.5 point total. I'm going to go like 31-27, something like that. Ticats win, Ticats cover, and give me an over on the point total. And the fourth and final game to open us up for the 2025 CFL season, the Edmonton Elks in BC taking on the Lions. This might low-key be the game of the week. This might be the most entertaining game. And I think it's like some of the best football I think that you're going to see this week in the CFL, I think is going to come in this game of Edmonton and BC. And again, I consider this an early preview of the West Division semifinal. I think the Lions probably outgun them in this matchup, but I think it is going to be super exciting and entertaining capper to week 1. Give me Nathan Rourke and the BC Lions to open up this season at home with a win. Lions beat the Elks in BC. Lions are laying -5.5 here as a home favorite. I think I'm going to go ahead and lay that number. I mean, I can see them winning this game by a touchdown, maybe even creeping up into double digits. So I think that -5.5 will probably hit. So let's lay the -5.5 here on BC. Total in the game set at 48.5 points, like I mentioned. I think I got to take the over here as well. Again, Nathan Rourke, very talented BC Lions offense. Playmakers on the Edmonton Elks now, even more so than they had last year on the offensive side of the ball. So I like an over here. Give me like a 31-21, something like that. Lions win. Lions cover the -5.5 and give me an over on the points. There you have it, folks. Those are your picks and plays for week 1 of the 2025 CFL season. We'll go over them here with you quickly one more time. I like the Ottawa REDBLACKS to upset the Saskatchewan Roughriders 26-20, taking +3 on the REDBLACKS and under the 49.5 point total. I like the Montreal Alouettes to defeat the Toronto Argos 27-24. I'm taking the +4 on the Toronto Argos in a game that goes over the 47.5 point total. I got the Hamilton Ticats outgunning the Calgary Stampeders 31-27, taking the -2 on the Hamilton Ticats on the road and over the 52.5 point total. And I got the BC Lions beating the Edmonton Elks 31-21, laying the -5.5 on BC and taking over on the 48.5 point total. Ladies and gentlemen, not only is the CFL actual season back, the CFL fantasy season is back too. My week 1 CFL fantasy lineup is right in front of your eyes right now, and I'm not going to promise that there isn't going to be some massaging of this lineup between now and when the games actually kick off. But as of right now, I'm rolling Bo Levi Mitchell as my starting quarterback. He's going to be my captain as well. A running back tandem of James Butler and Greg Bell. I think Greg Bell in the early season here is going to be one of the great values of CFL fantasy until the market adjusts and his price probably goes way up after a couple of big games. My receiving core, I'm stacking Kenny Lawler with Bo Levi Mitchell. Just because I like stacks. I like stacks. They're very boom or bust, but I don't know. In CFL fantasy especially, I don't know. I kind of move towards the stacks. Tyson Philpott is going to be my other starting wide receiver for the Montreal Alouettes, and I'm flexing Khalil Pimpleton of the Ottawa REDBLACKS. Originally, I was going to roll with William Stanback at running back, but then, the Riders' run defense was really good last year, so we're going to give him a couple of games to kind of get acquainted with his new offense. I'm going to roll with the REDBLACKS on the defensive side, though. Again, they're the only defense I have allowing, 20 points or fewer. I think they have a big game against the Riders. Ladies and gentlemen, the best football league in the world is back. The CFL is back for 2025. I am back for the CFL in 2025. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. I can't tell you how excited and happy that I am to be back covering this league for yet another season. This is season 6, season 7, something like that of covering the CFL? Whatever it is. Your boy loves it. I love bringing the content to you. I love how engaged you folks are with the Canadian Football League as well. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about the picks for week 1, how you think about how I'm kind of looking at the teams coming into this season. Drop your fantasy rosters, all that fun stuff. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. We will see you again for week 2. Elbows up.